Welcome to part 2 of the video series on the shooting of Michaell Brown as told by Dorian Johnson, a liar. And today we're going to examine the testimony of those who corroborate Officer Darren Wilson's account of what took place and are deemed credible. In future videos, we'll talk about those witnesses who do not corroborate Darren Wilson. So those of you who are wanting to hear those stories, hang on, we'll get to them. At any rate, I thought I would start off with a little video clip here from CNN, and they're going to show us what's going on in Ferguson, Missouri, right after the shooting.
What we have here is a safe room, but unfortunately, many people who are out in that crowd, women and children, as Chris Cuomo witnesses, many of our correspondents and anchors have witnessed, they have been overcome with tear gas. And again, this Ferguson Market and Liquor Store, listen, I believe, just from looking at the pictures, one would assume that store is being looted. Sadly, all of that does not really help the cause of the protesters.
Sadly, that does not help the cause of the protesters. Gee, I wonder which side of the story that CNN is on. And by the way, yes, this is the Ferguson Market and Liquor that Michaell Brown robbed, shoved the store clerk, and ended up calling the police. Now, let's think about this. You're a clerk. I think he's actually the owner, but you're in there working in the store. One of the patrons shoves you, steals something from you, and walks out, and you have the audacity to call the police. And that's what these people are doing. They're looting this store out because he called the police on Michaell Brown to report an actual crime, a violent crime.
It really deflects the attention from what the president spoke to tonight. Really what the prosecutor, Bob McCullough, spoke of tonight.
See the people inside? This is called looting.
Bob McCullough acknowledging that there were issues with police and with the community, and that unfortunately,
they're just going in and stealing everything.
The death of
because of their anger. The only way they can assuage their anger is to go in and steal things like beer.
Michaell Brown would open up conversation, at least for people to start a conversation and to possibly come to some sort of consensus as to how to deal with this situation.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dredd Show.
All right, this is a memorandum, and we're going to be reading this over the next few videos. The Department of Justice report regarding the criminal investigation into the shooting death of Michaell Brown by Ferguson, Missouri police officer Darren Wilson. And you may be wondering, well, this is the Department of Justice. This was probably when Trump was in office. And of course, the Department of Justice, when Trump was in office, is going to obviously manufacture some sort of pro-police narrative. No, this is the Department of Justice under Barack Obama. Okay, and so we go to Section C, witness accounts. And so there's a little bit of a preamble here. As the first responding investigators, Salt Lake City PD detectives interviewed witnesses on Canfield Drive within the first few hours of the shooting. 1 week later, on August 16th, 2014, in an effort to identify additional witnesses who may have been reluctant to speak with local law enforcement, gee, I can't imagine why that would be the case, the FBI conducted a neighborhood canvass of more than 300 residences. Federal and county authorities largely conducted additional interviews jointly, unless a witness expressed discomfort with the presence of either federal agents or SLCPD detectives. To evaluate the merits of a potential federal prosecution, federal prosecutors and FBI agents conducted follow-up interviews. Many witnesses also testified before the county grand jury. Unless otherwise noted, witnesses did not know of Brown or Wilson prior to the shooting. And it says, for ease of review, this report divides the summaries of witness accounts into 3 sections based on the nature and credibility of their accounts to a jury. So we'll go ahead and I'll skip all this here. And we'll go down here to Section 1, or Subsection 1, witnesses materially consistent with prior statements, physical evidence, and other witnesses, and therefore give credible accounts. And subsection I here, witnesses, actually 1, witnesses materially consistent with prior statements, physical evidence, and other witnesses who corroborate that Wilson acted in self-defense. And again, Wilson is the police officer. And so we're going to be reading witness accounts that support the officer. And we have, first off, witness 102. And it states, witness 102 is a 27-year-old biracial male. Okay, this is not some white dude with a MAGA hat. All right. Witness 102 gave 3 statements. First, detectives interviewed him. Second, FBI agents interviewed him. Third, witness 102 testified before the county grand jury. And he was doing house repairs on a residence on Canfield Drive, so I guess he's probably not from that neighborhood. Although maybe it was his own house, but it doesn't make it clear here. And I'll skip down. According to him, he saw Brown standing on the driver's side of the SUV, bent over his body through the driver's window from the waist up. Dorian Johnson claimed otherwise. Witness 102 explained that Brown was wrestling through the window, just like the officer said. But he was unable to see what Wilson was doing. After a few seconds, witness 102 heard a gunshot, as Officer Darren Wilson testified. Immediately, Brown took off running in the opposite direction from where witness 102 was standing. Okay, both sides claim that. Witness 102 heard something metallic hit the ground. Not sure. Witness 102 thought he had just witnessed the murder of a police officer because a few seconds passed before Wilson emerged from the SUV. Wilson then chased Brown with his gun drawn, but not pointed at Brown, until Brown abruptly turned around at a nearby driveway. Witness 102 explained that it made no sense to him why Brown turned around. Brown did not get on the ground or put his hands up in surrender. Gee, Dorian, that kind of belies what you said. In fact, witness 102 told investigators that he knew for sure that Brown's hands were not above his head. Unlike what Dorian said, this whole thing about hands up, don't shoot, right? He's saying that did not happen. Rather, Brown made some type of movement similar to pulling up his pants or a shoulder shrug, and then charged at Wilson. That's what Officer Darren Wilson said happened, and Dorian Johnson said did not happen. It was only then that Wilson fired 5 or 6 shots at Brown. Brown paused and appeared to flinch, and Wilson stopped firing. However, Brown charged at Wilson again, and again Wilson fired about 3 or 4 rounds until Brown finally collapsed on the ground. Witness 102 was in disbelief that Wilson seemingly kept missing because Brown kept advancing forward. We're not sure if he kept missing or not. I don't know how many shots were fired. I know how many bullets were found in the body, but okay, that may be right or wrong. Witness 102 described Brown as a threat, moving at a full charge. Witness 102 stated that Wilson only fired shots when Brown was coming toward Wilson. How do you explain this, Dorian? It appeared to Witness 102 that Wilson's life was in jeopardy, just like Officer Darren Wilson said. Witness 102 was unable to hear whether Brown or Wilson said anything. What about Dorian Johnson? Well, Witness 102 did not see Brown's friend, Witness 101, that's Dorian Johnson, at any time during the incident until Witness 101 came out of nowhere, shouting, "They just killed him." Witness 101 seemed to be shouting toward a blue Monte Carlo that had stopped behind Wilson's SUV. Witness 101 then ran off. Okay, so how credible is this witness? I mean, after all, he's got his story, right? But can we believe him? Well, let's read a little bit more. Witness 102 explained that once he saw officers putting up police tape, he went down to the scene and began telling another onlooker what he had witnessed. Witness 102 later learned via a friend on Facebook that his voice was inadvertently captured on another bystander's cell phone recording. Federal prosecutors reviewed this recording, and Witness 102 identified his voice on the recording when he testified before the county grand jury. In it, Witness 102 can be heard correcting someone else who was recounting what he heard from others, that Wilson stood over Brown and shot while on the ground. In response, Witness 102 stated that Wilson shot Brown because Brown came back toward Wilson. Witness 102 kept thinking that Wilson's shots were missing Brown because Brown kept moving. Okay, so you have to picture this, all right? This guy goes into the crowd to tell everybody what he saw, and he hears a bunch of horse manure, right? People telling all kinds of crazy shit. And so he's telling them, no, that's not what happened. Brown was charging at the officer when the officer opened fire. His voice was captured by somebody on their cell phone and was posted on social media. The prosecutors got a hold of this, played it. He said, yeah, that's me. This is very credible. It shows that at the time of the shooting, this man went through the trouble and a little bit of courage to try to correct the record. This is not testimony manufactured after the fact to try to get a police officer absolved. Witness 102 did not stay on Canfield Drive long after the shooting. Good idea. But rather started to leave the area after about 5 minutes because he felt uncomfortable, and for good reason. According to Witness 102, crowds of people had begun to gather, wrongly claiming the police officer shot Brown for no reason and that he had his hands up in surrender. Now, where's the crowd getting this idea? It's from Dorian Johnson. He went around telling everybody that that's what happened, and these people are just picking up on it. 2 black women approached Witness 102, mobile phone set to record, asking him to recount what he had witnessed. Witness 102 responded that they would not like what he had to say. The women responded with racial slurs, calling them names like white motherfucker. Okay, there you go. They turned on their cell phones to capture testimony that they thought was going to corroborate Dorian Johnson's. And when they found out that's not what this man was going to say, they verbally attacked him. Witness 102 called 911 the following day to report what he saw. He then went to the FPD on Monday, August 11th, where he was referred to the SLCPD. Witness 102 explained that he came forward because he felt bad about the situation, and he wanted to bring closure to Brown's family so they would not think that the officer got away with murdering their son. He further explained that most people think that police are bad for them up until the time they're in need of the police, and he felt that witnesses would not come forward to tell the truth in this case because of, guess what, community pressure. In other words, the community wants the officer convicted and they don't care if he's innocent. That's really important to understand. The people in that area that came forward to back up Dorian Johnson's claims want the officer convicted. They don't care if the officer's at fault. As described above, all of Witness 102's statements were materially consistent with each other. He gave 3 statements, all said the same thing. With physical and forensic evidence, and with other credible witness accounts. So everything he said matches facts that the investigators already had. Witness 102 does not have a criminal history. And they go on to say that he would be an effective witness for the defense. Keep in mind what this is all about. They're trying to find out if they should bring charges against Officer Darren Wilson. And so they're trying to find out if the witnesses are going to be credible or not and what they're going to come in and say and whether there's going to be any point in charging the officer. And they're basically saying that this witness is going to pose a lot of trouble for the prosecution. All right, here we go. Witness 103. Witness 103 is a 50-year-old black male who gave 2 statements. A black male. Gee, doesn't sound like a MAGA dude. Doesn't sound like a Trumper. First, Witness 103 was reluctant to meet with the detectives, agents, and federal prosecutors because he has no particular allegiance to law enforcement. Witness 103 is a convicted felon who served time in federal prison and has a son who was shot and injured by law enforcement during the commission of a robbery. So this is a man who has no love for the police. Witness 103 expressed concerns because there were signs in the neighborhood of Canfield Drive stating snitches get stitches. Well, wait a minute. These signs are being posted that say snitches get stitches. It kind of sounds like the people who are putting these signs up don't want people to tell the truth. After all, the sign doesn't say, hey, go and report what you saw to the police. No, they're saying, if you're going to go and talk to the police, you'd better not provide any testimony that promotes the officer's viewpoint. That should piss you off. They are actively trying to prevent people from clearing Officer Darren Wilson. Therefore, he agreed to be interviewed only on the condition of confidentiality. Witness 103 later testified before the county grand jury. Hey, he's got some courage. I mean, really. According to Witness 103, he was driving his blue pickup truck in the opposite direction of Wilson's SUV and ended up virtually next to the driver's side of the SUV when it stopped. Relative to Witness 102, the one we just heard from, Witness 103 had a similar but much closer view of the driver's side of the SUV. If the parked SUV is viewed as dividing Canfield Drive in half, both Witness 102 and Witness 103 were on the same side, with a view of Brown's back as he ran from Wilson and a view of Brown's front as he ran toward Wilson. When Witness 103 stopped his truck on Canfield Drive, although he did not see what led up to it, he saw Brown punching Wilson at least 3 times in the facial area, just like Wilson said, through the open driver's window of the SUV. Witness 103 described Wilson and Brown as having hold of each other's shirts, but Brown was getting in a couple of blows. Wilson was leaning back toward the passenger seat with his forearm up in an effort to block the blows. That's exactly what Wilson said. Then Witness 103 heard a gunshot and Brown took off running. Wilson exited the SUV, appeared to be using his shoulder microphone to call into his radio, which we know that Darren Wilson did, and chased Brown with his gun held low. Exactly like Darren Wilson said, and is exactly what was stated by the earlier witness, Witness 102. Witness 103 explained that Brown came to a stop near a car, put his hands down on the car, and turned around to face Wilson. Brown's hands were then down at his sides. Witness 103 did not see Brown's hands up, unlike what Dorian Johnson said. Wanting to leave, Witness 103 began to turn his car around in the opposite direction that Brown had been running when he heard additional shots. Witness 103 turned to his right and saw Brown moving fast toward Wilson. Witness 103 then drove away. Witness 103 had a passenger in his truck. Although Witness 103 tried to facilitate contact between federal and state authorities and the passenger refused to identify himself or provide any information. And so this witness has a person that he thinks is going to corroborate his story, and he tries to get this person to tell the police what happened, and the person won't. Why? He's scared. When Witness 103 was initially subpoenaed to testify before the county grand jury, he expressed even more reluctance than he did during his investigative interview, this time alleging memory loss. However, he ultimately testified consistently with his original account, with the physical and forensic evidence and with other credible witness accounts. Therefore, if called as a defense witness in a federal prosecution of Darren Wilson, Witness 103 would be subject to limited impeachment for his 2 felony convictions, including a theft conviction. Those of you, by the way, who think that witnesses cannot be interrogated on their past crimes, you're wrong. It depends. Theft conviction is a crime of honesty, and that is typically allowed. But his apparent antipathy toward law enforcement would bolster testimony that corroborates Wilson. Okay, the very fact that he is not a friend of the police would help him in his testimony. All right, Witness 104. Witness 104 is a 26-year-old biracial female. Oh, another MAGA person. My gosh, they're everywhere. Witness 104 gave 3 statements. The SLCPD detectives, FBI, and the grand jury. Witness 104 was in a minivan that had been traveling in the opposite direction of Wilson and came to a halt in front of Wilson's SUV and somewhat behind, yet adjacent to Witness 103's blue pickup truck. Witness 104 was on the same side of the SUV as Witness 102 and Witness 103. She was seated in the middle row behind the driver's seat of the minivan, leaning over toward the center with a direct view of Brown running away from Wilson, a frontal view of Brown coming back toward Wilson, and the shooting thereafter. It turns out there's a whole carload of people here. Witness 104 is the adult daughter of the two witnesses in the driver and passenger front seats, and her sister was also there, and she's also a witness. So there are 4 people in this car that are going to give testimony as to what happened. According to Witness 104, she was leaning over talking to her sister, Witness 107, when she heard 2 gunshots. She looked out the front window and saw Brown at the driver's window of Wilson's SUV. Witness 104 knew that Brown's arms were inside the SUV, unlike what Dorian Johnson claimed, and matching what Darren Wilson claimed. But she could not see what Brown and Wilson were doing because Brown's body was blocking her view. Witness 104 saw Brown run from the SUV, followed by Wilson, who hopped out of the SUV and ran after him while yelling, "Stop, stop, stop." Wilson did not fire his gun as Brown ran from him. Dorian Johnson claimed that Wilson shot him in the back as Brown was running away from him. Somebody's lying. Brown then turned around and for a second began to raise his hands as though he may have considered surrendering, but then quickly balled up his fists in a running position and charged at Wilson, exactly what Officer Darren Wilson said. Witness 104 described it as a tackle run, explaining that Brown wasn't going to stop. Wilson fired his gun only as Brown charged at him, backing up as Brown came toward him. Witness 104 explained that there were 3 separate volleys of shots. Each time Brown ran toward Wilson, Wilson fired, Brown paused, Wilson stopped firing, and then Brown charged again. So in other words, Wilson was showing incredible restraint here. He's only shooting at Brown when Brown is advancing on him. A lot of fat good that did him. The pattern continued until Brown fell to the ground, smashing his face upon impact. Wilson did not fire while Brown momentarily had his hands up, unlike what Dorian Johnson claimed, and unlike the whole hands up, don't shoot narrative has been claiming ever since this day. Witness 104 explained that it took some time for Wilson to fire, adding that she would have fired sooner. So again, Officer Darren Wilson showed remarkable restraint here. And again, it doesn't matter to these people. The ones that want him convicted don't care. Wilson did not go near Brown's body after Brown fell to his death. Witness 104 explained that she first saw Brown's friend, Witness 101, when he took off running as soon as the first 2 shots were fired. She never saw him again. She's referring to, again, Dorian Johnson. All 3 of Witness 104's statements were consistent with each other, consistent with the physical and forensic evidence, and consistent with other credible witness accounts. When we go through the testimonies of those who are trying to convict Officer Darren Wilson, we're going to find just the opposite. Witness 104 does not have a criminal history. And it goes on to say that this witness would be really credible and would likely persuade the jury that Officer Darren Wilson acted in self-defense, and therefore there's no point in charging him. Again, don't forget the purpose of this investigation. Witness 105. Witness 105 is a 50-year-old black female. Man, these MAGA Trumpers are really good at disguising themselves. She gave 2 statements. She was in the minivan with the one that we just read. And you'll notice here, everything she says here matches exactly to the previous witness. She was in the same car, saw the same thing, and is making the same statement. And as you can see here, according to Witness 105, Wilson only shot at Brown when Brown was moving toward him. This is interesting. When Witness 105 contacted detectives, she was reluctant to identify herself and ultimately met with them in a library parking lot. She explained that she was coming forward because in speaking with her neighbors, she realized that what they believe had happened was inconsistent with what actually happened. She further explained that she had not been paying attention to media accounts and had been unaware of the inaccuracies being reported. Witness 105 has no criminal history. So she only came forward because she realized that people had gotten the facts incorrect. Witness 108 is a 74-year-old black male. Yeah, these are just the kind of people who would concoct a scheme to get a white police officer off the hook for the shooting of a black teenager. Okay. A 74-year-old black male who claimed to have witnessed the shooting stated that it was justified, but repeatedly refused to give formal statements to law enforcement for fear of reprisal. Yeah, he's not stupid. Should the Canfield Drive neighborhood find out that his account corroborated Wilson? Now that should make you angry as hell. People scared to come forward and tell the truth because the neighborhood would attack them. He was served with a subpoena, refused to appear. During the initial canvass of the crime scene on August 9th, in the hours after the shooting, detectives approached Witness 108, who was sitting in his car on Canfield Drive. They asked if he witnessed what happened. Witness 108 refused to identify himself or give details, but told detectives that the police officer was in the right and did what he had to do. And the statements made by people in the apartment complex were inaccurate. Both state and federal investigators later attempted to locate and interview Witness 108, who repeatedly expressed fear in coming forward. During the investigators' attempts to find Witness 108, another individual reported that 2 days after the shooting, Witness 108 confided in her that he would have fucking shot that boy too. In saying so, Witness 108 mimicked an aggressive stance with his hands out in front of him as though he was about to charge. Keep in mind, this is an elderly black man. Detectives finally tracked him down at a local repair shop, where he reluctantly explained that Wilson told Brown to stop or get down at least 10 times, but instead Brown charged at Wilson. Witness 108 told detectives that there were other witnesses on Canfield Drive who witnessed the same thing. A detective and federal prosecutor again tracked down Witness 108 in hopes of obtaining a more formal statement. However, Witness 108 refused to provide additional details to either county or federal authorities, citing community sentiment to support a hands-up surrender narrative as his reason to remain silent. So in other words, the community has got this hands-up, don't shoot narrative going around. That's what they want. And if you dare say anything that counters that, you could get hurt. He explained that he would rather go to jail than testify before the county grand jury. Witness 108 has no criminal history. Witness 108's accounts, although quite general, are clearly exculpatory as to Wilson and consistent with other credible evidence. His reluctance to testify in opposition to community sentiment lends further credence to his account. Witness 109. Witness 109 is a 53-year-old black male. Again, these are not white people hanging out trying to protect a police officer. A lot of these people are from this community, and they're black. And yet their testimonies are supporting the officer. Like Witness 108, Witness 109 claimed to have witnessed the shooting, stated that it was justified, and repeatedly refused to give formal statements to law enforcement for fear of reprisal should the Canfield Drive neighborhood find out that his account corroborated Wilson. Are you all pissed yet? You should be pissed by this time. He was served with a county grand jury subpoena and refused to appear. He repeatedly refused to formally meet with detectives, FBI agents, or federal county prosecutors. Law enforcement identified witness 109 through a phone call that he made to the SLCPD information line on the day of the shooting. During that 6-minute recorded call, the operator transferred witness 109 to an SLCPD detective, and witness 109 provided the following information, repeatedly refusing to meet with detectives in person. Witness 109 stated that he did not want his phone number traced and would deny everything if it was traced. Witness 109 stated that he did not know Brown or his friend, Dorian Johnson. However, he was calling because Dorian Johnson, whom he described as the guy with the dreads, lied on national television. Witness 109 described Brown and Witness 101 walking on the center line of the street when the officer asked them to get out of the street. Brown responded something to the effect of, "Fuck the police." According to Witness 109, Wilson got out of his vehicle and Brown, the young guy that died, hit him in the face. Witness 109 explained that Wilson reached for what appeared to be a taser but dropped it and then grabbed a gun. Witness 109 explained that Brown reached for Wilson's gun. Although Witness 109's description was somewhat disjointed, he also stated that at first Brown ran away from Wilson but then kept coming toward Wilson. Wilson told Brown to stop and lie down, but Brown failed to comply. Witness 109 said that Wilson fired in self-defense, explaining that Wilson did not shoot to kill first, but he unloaded on him when Brown wouldn't stop. Witness 109 said that a lot of people saw that it was justified, ending the call by stating, "I know police get a bad rap, but they're here to protect us." Federal and county prosecutors and investigators tried to no avail to interview Witness 109. True to his word on the initial phone call, he would not discuss what he saw. He did, however, acknowledge that he placed a call to the SLCPD information line. Witness 109 does have a criminal history that would be admissible in federal court. Witness 109 had a misdemeanor theft conviction from 1985 and a felony arrest, both of which likely would be inadmissible in federal court for impeachment purposes. Why? Probably because the misdemeanor theft conviction dated back 40 years ago. And I'm not sure what the felony arrest was about. Witness 109's account is exculpatory as to Wilson, and although Witness 109 may be subject to limited impeachment, the majority of his description is consistent with the physical and forensic evidence and consistent with other credible witness accounts. Community sentiment, and therefore his reluctance to testify on behalf of Wilson, would likely bolster his account. Witness 113. Witness 113 is a 31-year-old black female. Again, these are not white people. She was interviewed one time by FBI agents during their canvass on August 16, 2014, and gave an account that generally corroborated Wilson, but only after she was confronted with untruthful statements she initially made in an effort to avoid neighborhood backlash. When local authorities tried to serve Witness 113 with a subpoena to testify before the county grand jury, she blockaded her door with a couch to avoid service. Actually, the only thing she has to do is just not open the door. Witness 113 was on her brother's balcony, located opposite and to the left of the aforementioned minivan, when she first saw Brown walking in the street. Contrary to other witness accounts, Witness 113 saw what she believed to be 3 black males walking in the street and 2 police vehicles present, calling into question whether she actually witnessed the beginning of the incident. She explained that one of the police officers told Brown and his friends to go on the sidewalk, and then subsequently called Brown over to his vehicle where a struggle occurred. Witness 113 then gave an account that was contrary to physical evidence, internally inconsistent, and admittedly untrue. In other words, her account was total BS, okay? She first explained that Brown ran east, away from Wilson as Wilson shot him. However, she then explained that she watched as Brown ran west past Wilson, who shot Brown right next to the SUV. Witness 113 stated that Wilson fired shots into Brown's back as he lay flat on his stomach on the ground. This is what Dorian Johnson said. When the FBI told Witness 113 that the autopsy results and other evidence were inconsistent with her account, she admitted that she lied. Are you listening? This is a person who came forward, gave information to these officers that would have convicted Officer Darren Wilson. Then, when they showed her the actual physical evidence, she admitted that she made it up. She explained to the FBI that you've got to live the life to know it. No idea what she's saying there. And stated that she feared offering an account contrary to the narrative reported by who? The media. That Brown held his hands up in surrender. Witness 113 then admitted that she saw Brown running toward Wilson, prompting Wilson to yell, "Freeze." Brown failed to stop, and Wilson began shooting Brown. Witness 113 told the FBI that it appeared to her that Wilson's life was in danger. She explained there was a pause in the shots before the firing resumed, but Witness 113 had ducked down for cover and did not see anything after the first volley of shots. Witness 113 was with her brother and boyfriend when the shooting occurred. Witness 113 refused to provide their contact information, and they both repeatedly evaded law enforcement's attempts to meet with them. So again, these two dudes are also scared of the community, and they're trying to avoid giving testimony that would clear the officer out of fear of neighborhood reprisal. Witness 113 has no criminal history that would be admissible in federal court. She has past arrests, but no convictions. In a federal prosecution, if served and called to testify on behalf of Wilson, federal prosecutors could subject Witness 113 to cross-examination due to her admittedly untruthful statements during the first part of her interview with the FBI. However, her reasons for being untruthful, coupled with the fact that she immediately changed course when her statements were challenged, give her account reliability. All right, so Witness 134 is actually Darren Wilson's fiancée. She didn't see what happened. I'm not going to go ahead and go through her testimony. What she has here does support Darren Wilson's testimony, but again, it's his fiancée, and I'm not going to go ahead and bother with it. Witness 134 is actually Darren Wilson's fiancée. She did have some testimony about some of his injuries and things like that, and some of the things that he told her. Because she did not actually see what happened, and this is really about Dorian Johnson versus Officer Darren Wilson, I'm not going to bother with it. So, there you have it. There are plenty of people who saw what happened and corroborate Officer Darren Wilson's testimony. These are not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. These are not Trumpers. These are people who live in the neighborhood for the most part and are either biracial or black. Many of them admit that they're scared to bring forward what they said because the community will retaliate against them. So I would ask a question. Why would a, let's say, black male who watched what happened, who saw that the kid was gunned down by this white police officer in cold blood, murdered, as Dorian Johnson claimed, why would that person go to the police and tell them that the white police officer was actually in the right, was only defending himself? Explain that. Okay, now that brings up another point. What about those people who have credible testimony that would convict this officer? Well, we have a list here. It says here, witnesses consistent with prior statements, physical evidence, and other witnesses who inculpate Wilson. In other words, those that could help convict Officer Darren Wilson of murder. There are no witnesses who fall under this category. No one who gave credible statements said anything that would make Officer Darren Wilson look guilty. In my next video, we're going to examine the statements made by witnesses who support Dorian Johnson, and you're going to get very, very angry. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.